Hello, hello. I am sharing again some secular wisdom, this time from the Stoic philosopher Seneca. You know, this man, as wise as he was, the end of his life was sad. He was forced to commit suicide. He was forced to cut his veins and sit down in a tub of hot water. He was killed by the same man whom he educated. Yes, that's right. Seneca was the tutor of his murderer. But anyway, besides the occurrences of his life, this is what really matters.
To live's no dainty business. A kind of song.
I'm writing for the generations of the future. I'm setting down some advice I hope will be useful to them. Remedies whose effectiveness I've tested on my own wounds, which may not be cured, but at least have stopped bleeding. I'm guiding others to the right path, which I've discovered only late in life, when I am tired of wandering.
Before all else, learn how to feel joy. Hurry to live, and measure a life in each day. Seek the health of your soul. Where does that lie? In not finding your pleasures in deceptions. It takes the whole of a life to learn how to live.
A warning. Accept life on the same terms as the weather. Things will come at you, and sometimes they will hit you. Living is no dainty business. You've begun on a long road. You will have stumbles and twists and falls and get tired and wish, or pretend to, for death. At one point you will leave a companion. At another you will bury one. At still another you will find an enemy. These are the sorts of things you'll encounter all along the way. You can't escape the terms of life, but you can defy them.
Some rules. Never give in to adversity, and don't you dare trust prosperity. Always remember that the throw of the dice will happen as it will, without your requests. The blow you've anticipated will do the least harm. A prayer.
This should be your prayer. Let me die knowing that I behaved honorably, and that no one's freedom was lessened by my actions, least of all my own.
A question. How can the mind find a smooth and steady course which does itself good? How can it find a balance and sail along without ups and downs? In short, how can it find tranquility? A command.
Be the sculptor of your own life.
The soul doctor. Seneca tries the talking cure with a troubled young friend who lived 2,000 years ago, but whom you'll recognize.
I find myself languishing in an in-between state. I'm not sick, but I'm not well. I have to admit to you that I'm irritable and quick to take things the wrong way. Worse, I'm getting used to this. I've begun to love my faults as much as my better points. For example, I insist I'm perfectly happy being careful with money, and I'm not tempted by beautiful, expensive things. Then wham! I go to an elegant dinner at a wealthy home, and all my resolutions expire in the flambe. I find myself wondering, is my way of living really better? Or am I just fooling myself? At the first sign of something which makes me feel I'm not coping, or that I've let myself down, I give up and want to crawl home and hide. All this navel-gazing has caused me to see myself through an even denser fog. Am I simply suffering from a failure of good intentions? How many people can be truthful with themselves? Who isn't always secretly their own biggest fan? I'm speaking to you as if you were a doctor. Please, tell me if there's a cure for this self-destructive dithering and self-punishment.
I'll continue your medical analogy, for, if I may be a bit pompous, we philosophers like to think of ourselves as physicians of the soul. You're like someone who has just recovered from a serious illness. You're cured, but you're unused to being healthy. You're still worried and distraught, imagining symptoms that no longer exist. Your ailment isn't a storm, but a sort of seasickness. What you're really longing for is the greatest good available to us, that of stability. The Greeks called this state of mind well-being of the soul. I call it tranquility, or peace of mind. My treatment plan consists of helping you find it by giving you back your confidence in yourself. The fact that you admit you're in trouble is half the battle. Think how much more you'd dislike yourself if you were tangled up in lies and self-deceptions. This is true of most people, and they're the ones who are ill with self-hatred. Now let's have a look at all the splendid possibilities for havering and vacillating and punishing yourself. Some people spin around like insomniacs, changing their minds every other minute, constantly redeciding to do the thing that they had just decided not to do. Only utter exhaustion brings them to a halt. Other people are afflicted with boredom, and in order to evade it, constantly change their goals. Still others suffer from inertia and can't find the will to live as they would like. Instead, they remain stranded where they began. Others are totally in the clouds. The malady I'm describing in these different forms is one disease: dissatisfaction with yourself. These are the results. If you're indecisive, you live perpetually in a state of suspense. You find yourself doing things that you know are wrong for you. You become afraid of attempting anything that really matters. You can't control your desires, and you can't fulfill them. Here's a soul stewing in its own half-abandoned hopes. You may try to run away from life, but the paradox is that you've crashed into this state through a lack of inner resources, and this failure is what hits you when you've slunk off on your own. You've said goodbye to the pleasures of company and going out, but staying home is gloomy and isolating. To speak medically again, the symptoms become like an itch which needs to be scratched, and you learn to expect and even enjoy aggravation. You think by escaping your home, your family, or your country, that you can get away from yourself as well. And so you travel. Let's go to Rome. That having failed, it's white water rafting. The country now, the city later, exchanging one setting for another. As the philosopher Lucretius said, everyone flees themselves. But of course, the reverse happens. You dog yourself, your most tedious and least loving companion. So then, my young friend, there you have it. Here is the prescription for restoring your peace of mind, for preserving it, and for building immunity to the things that can take you by surprise.
First of all, think yourself rich or poor. A true story.
My teacher used to tell this tale. For a long time, I was in love with glitzy things. A gleam here, a gorgeous shape there, a lovely scent, and I'd be on my knees. I naively assumed that the inside was every bit as thrilling as the outside. One day, I happened to see a pageant of Rome's treasures, statues carved in gold and silver, elaborate jewelry, lush embroidered tapestries that were the spoils of war, platoons of elegantly costumed, good-looking boys and girls, drilled to perfection. Others of seeming greatness that an imperial power loves to put on show. I reviewed the spectacle and asked myself, what does this parade of cash really mean? What does it do for us but inflame our sense of greed and envy? Have we assembled here for a lesson in how to covet material goods? Yet in fact I went away less tempted than before. I've learned to despise riches not only because they're superfluous, but because they're insignificant. In a few short hours, the procession had passed. Here was something that couldn't fill even a day, yet it fills the whole of life for us.
How blind and arrogant we are. The money and status to content us doesn't exist. The folly of it. Creatures destined to die, dying every day in fact, and nothing is enough for us.
Imagine this. a little parable. Suppose all the loot of all the world's big money grubbers fell into your lap, and that you became richer than any single person ever has been, living in houses all over the world fitted with all the latest gadgets, as well as roofs of gold and floors of priceless mosaics made of the most precious gems, so that you not merely own, but walk over treasures. Throw in painting, sculptures, your own orchestra, composer and singers, your private theatre troupe and dramatist to perform in your own gorgeous auditorium. Clothes that would make a peacock blush, more servants than there are populations of countries, and teams of therapists and advisors. Do you know what? All these things, every whim satisfied and catered for, will only induce in you the lust for more and more. Natural desires are limited, but those that arise from the artificial, from other people's ideas of what is good, are endless. For there is no point at which they can be satisfied. There will always be something else to crave.
Here's how to become rich. A shortcut to becoming a billionaire.
I'm sure you're eager to know. Even with a shortcut, you'll need funds. So raise a loan, but not from the bank. Borrow from yourself. However small the loan is, it will be enough. The secret is that there's no difference between having things and not wanting them.
You can't always get what you want, but if you try, you can get what you need.
Or enough really is enough. The person who is truly impoverished is not the one who has little, but the one who yearns after more. Without the concept of thrift, no amount of money is ever enough. Weigh everything by natural appetite, which is easily satisfied. It's for the unnecessary things that we sweat and slave and scour the world.
Enjoy feeling satisfied. If you want to make your best friend rich, instead of multiplying their wealth, subtract from their desires.
Very good. As I said, these videos that I'm making from now are secular wisdom. Secular meaning non-religious. I have my spiritual life. I am a Baha'i. I believe in all the other faiths. But this is also important. Philosophy and poetry. You know, this is also food for the soul and the mind and the heart. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good night.